Well, Kurt, we got a trade deadline special, went all the way to the wire. But one of the biggest news stories of the day was Aaron Gordon is leaving Orlando to join Nikola Jokic in the Denver Nuggets. So the Nuggets get Aaron Gordon and Gary Clark, and they give up Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a first-round pick. What do you think about this trade?
Look, for Denver, essentially you go out and look, you didn't want to pay Jeremy Grant this summer, so now you're going to have Aaron Gordon, right? Like you need an athletic wing who can defend. Look, he can defend bigs in a conference where you're going to have to go a big wing. So you're going to have to go up against LeBron James. You're going to have to go up against Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Having his defense and his body helps. Plus, he's the third shot creator you need. If you overload on that Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic pick and roll, there's another guy who can create. So I like this get for them. I think that this kind of puts them, they've been playing better lately. They've been picking up steam. This is, I think, bumps them maybe into the top 4 in the West, makes them a much bigger playoff threat, just having that extra option. And hey, Orlando, RJ Hampton's a nice player. You pick up a pick, they're rebuilding.
Yeah. I love RJ Hampton's game, by the way, for Orlando. They have a lot of young players there, and they seem like acquiring draft picks to work off of that. But I think with Denver, I mean, they already have a big athletic guy in Michael Porter Jr., and he's been playing very well for them, right? He fits well in their system. So you add another athletic wing like Aaron Gordon. I mean, that's going to be dangerous.
You can't have enough shot creators and wings, can you? Like it's easy to say they overlap, but I don't know in today's NBA if you can actually have too many of those kind of guys. Again, especially in a Western Conference where LeBron is going to be there, Utah is going to be there. Like it's not going to be easy to get out of that conference, but Denver just looks like a better playoff team, especially like you said, if they get playoff Michael Porter Jr. to really step up, you got to like where they are.
And they have one other addition that we don't want to overlook. JaVale McGee is picked up for Isaiah Hartenstein and a second-round pick. I'm sorry, 2 future second-round picks. What do you think about McGee and what he adds to this team?
Size. Like you don't want to play Jokic against like Andre Drummond if he ends up with the Lakers. You've got Gobert. Every team still needs a more traditional big center to go up against other traditional big centers in those matchups. And they didn't really have it. Now they've got, look, Hartenstein's nice, but JaVale McGee is athletic, proven, has rings, great in the locker room, loved by teammates. It's a good fit. Again, that just strikes me, doesn't it? Like they made we want to win this year playoff moves, didn't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It looks like they were really taking this seriously, trying to peak in the second half of the season. But I mean, I love McGee, what he's been able to add to the Golden State Warriors and to the Lakers, being able to come off the bench and bring that size, and then now he has the championship DNA and mentality coming into that Denver Nuggets locker room and saying, I know what it takes to win a championship. And if that's your goal, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, I can tell you what these guys did. I can tell you what Steph Curry and LeBron do, just bringing everyone else up to that level of this is what it takes to be a championship team.
Yeah, he's a voice that can matter in that locker room. So it's a really nice pickup. But it's, Corey, just one of the interesting trades for the day.
Yeah, another one of my favorite ones has to deal with Nikola Vucevic, who is one of my favorite players in the NBA. I love Vucevic's game. And he's leaving Orlando along with Al-Farouq Aminu to go to Chicago for Otto Porter, Wendell Carter Jr., and 2 first-round draft picks. What are your thoughts?
I really like this. Again, Orlando, stockpiling draft picks, we're rebuilding. But I like this for Chicago because it's kind of, it's building towards your foundation of what you're going to be. You're not winning a title this year. But this is saying, hey, we realize Zach LaVine is legit. Let's get a legitimate all-star center next to him who's going to score or with him on the court. And suddenly this becomes a much more dangerous, potent offensive team that's going to be even harder to stop. So there's going to be more moves down the line, but you're starting to see what they're thinking now, and they're thinking about building around LaVine. By the way, Vucevic, 2 years left on his deal too. He's not going anywhere. So this is at a reasonable price. So this is a really nice pickup for Chicago.
Exactly what you said. I cannot agree more. It's interesting because last year I was looking at the salaries of Chicago and I was thinking, okay, who are they investing in? It seems like they're building the team around Otto Porter, but Zach LaVine has been their guy. Who's the franchise player? And then now you're starting to see Karnisovas come in and say, look, this is a direction. We're going with our young talent and Zach LaVine. He's going to be our franchise guy. We're going to build around him, give him support with Vucevic, give Kobe White support. Right now they're looking for a point guard to kind of take the stress off of all that. They couldn't get Lonzo Ball, but you understand that, hey, this is a clear signal. We want to upgrade at point guard. But I love the direction that Chicago's going. It's very, very exciting if you're a Chicago Bulls fan.
Yeah, they've moved on from the hope, let's acquire assets type of like, let's just get young players and see how it fits to, no, we're serious now. We want to make a run. They will be better this year. They are not going to be an easy playoff out, but this is the first steps in moves down the line for them making bigger moves. I like that. I like where Chicago is headed. We've been waiting to see where Karnisovas was going to take this team. I think now, don't you agree? We're kind of getting a picture.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, it's very clear. It's like, these are our guys, and we're investing in them. And even the move to say, okay, we're thinking about trading Markkanen. I mean, he was a guy that the Chicago Bulls organization was really high on for a long time, but they have kind of drawn their line in the sand. They've kind of revealed their cards and say, these are our guys moving forward. Now let's commit, double down, and see what we can do, which I got, as a Chicago Bulls fan, like I said, you have to be excited that this is hopefully in the right direction. It looks like it could be a really good move for them. One move, though, that we've been anticipating is the Victor Oladipo move. And now he's going to Miami from Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk and a draft swap. What are your thoughts on Oladipo in Miami?
That's the consolation prize, isn't it? They wanted Aaron Gordon. They were in talks maybe for Kyle Lowry, who's not going on. They wanted to make a big move, a big splash move. Victor Oladipo is the backup plan. He is plan B. Look, he's a former All-NBA player, but Corey, ever since he's come back from the injury, he's shown flashes, but he just has not been that guy. He's a free agent at the end of this summer who's going to expect or end of the season, he's going to expect a lot of money. But I think he does make them better in the short term. Like you've got Jimmy Butler, who's going to create shots for you in the playoffs. Now you've got a second guy who defenders have to at least respect, and hopefully he can be a little more efficient. They don't give up Tyler Hero. They don't give up Duncan Robinson. The shooting is still there. So there's still a lot of potential in the Heat. They have started to play a little – it's hit and miss. They've played better for stretches. But Victor Oladipo does give them another shot creator. I'm not sure it's what they wanted in Miami.
And one question I would love to hear from your perspective is, how much is Miami going to miss Olynyk?
That's why they traded for Bielitsa. They will miss Olynyk. Look, he spaces the floor. But in another trade they made that day, they went out and got Bielitsa from Sacramento. 6'10", sharpshooting, three. He struggled this year, but are you going to hold anything against anybody who struggled in Sacramento? No. Like, you put him in a better situation, he'll be fine. He can knock down threes and fill some of that role of Olynyk. I don't know if that's going to be enough, by the way. They really missed what Jake Crowder bought, which was not only like hitting threes, but that defense that Crowder brought in the playoffs. Olynyk's not that guy, and Bielitsa's not really that guy completely either, but at least I don't think they're going to miss him that much.
I'm excited to see what happens with Oladipo there in Miami as they try to get back to the finals. Two guys who were blockbuster names all swirling around in every rumor, literally every rumor, was Kyle Lowry and Lonzo Ball. Neither of them were traded. What do you think? Are these wins for Toronto and New Orleans? What do you think this means for both those players?
Yeah, it's the biggest shock, because if you asked me yesterday who were like the three guys most likely to go, Gordon kind of seemed to be on the move, and Oladipo we thought would go, but it really sounded like, if you watched and had anything out of the Toronto game last night where Kyle Lowry played, it looked like a farewell party. Like, he splashed his eyes, waving and talking about it after the game. It felt like he was going to be on the move. So it's a little bit of a surprise. Part of this is maybe they didn't get everything they wanted back for him, but part of this is they didn't really want him to go, did they? This is still the face of the franchise. This is a guy that's been there 8 years since they were a 34-win team with Rudy Gay as their best player. He has been there through all of that, through the championship. He's been the through line that's been so important to that organization. So I think they're happy to keep him. And Lonzo Ball, they're going to have to pay him this summer, but Lonzo Ball and Zion Williamson have some chemistry, Corey.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be hard not to have chemistry with Zion. Just throw it up, I'll leave, But yeah, with Kyle Lowry, it's really fascinating because you look at his production this year. It's not like he's slipped up. He's playing at a very high level. And if you look at the Toronto team, it's been marred with inconsistencies. So in my mind, I'm thinking, you could get something from Kyle Lowry, but he's one of your most productive players. So once you trade Powell and you try to go into your rebuilding phase, or you want to somehow salvage the season, in my mind, why would you leave? Why would you part ways with Kyle when he means so much to the franchise and he's producing for you.
Yeah, they did trade Norman Powell. They made other moves, by the way, who goes to Portland, who has like every shooter in America now, pretty much. Is like CJ and Dame, and now Norman Powell, who's been lights out this year from distance. They're going to, that makes them an interesting, dangerous playoff team. But when that happened, I'm like, oh, they're definitely going in, but they weren't. And I think this is a case where, as much as fans can sit at home and we kind of fantasy basketball the thing of, oh, well, Kyle Lowry can do this and he can open a championship window in Philadelphia and he can go home, and we can think all this through. He's the face of that franchise. He's the city. That relationship is what Toronto wanted to keep in the end. And
they already kind of have their heir apparent in, Pascal Siakam. Yeah. So in my mind, the Toronto franchise, is headed in the right place. But yeah, this season kind of seemed like a blip for some reason. I didn't understand why they were struggling so much. Kind of shocked me. But Lonzo Ball, I think his scenario is interesting because he's kind of gauging the market, right? Like, I think we kind of saw how valuable is Lonzo Ball on the market just for his own internal camp as he enters into his restricted free agency, and also for the Pelicans moving forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams with money out there. The Knicks have always come up, other teams. Somebody will throw some money at him this summer, but the Pelicans didn't just match. And I think unless somebody comes in with a kind of just stupid offer, I think this is a sign that they're going to keep him, right? Like, you want to keep him and have him as part of the rotation. Again, the guy can throw lobs. He's a smart player, and he's improved. His shots improved dramatically since he's been down there. So it looks like Lonzo Ball is part of the future, and I like that fit. I mean, they moved on from JJ Redick. They've got some work to do on that roster, but Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and that Zion Williamson guy, it's still pretty good, man.
I would agree. Now it's on to my favorite part of the show is, what was your favorite move of the day, or who was the most improved team? Who do you think is the winner of NBA trade deadline?
I got a feeling I know where you're going to go on this, so I'm going to
Spurs.
It's always the Spurs. That's right. I'm going to go a different direction. I will take. Look, I want teams that are going to be. I like teams that are going to be bold and say, "Hey, we're going to go after this thing. We're going to win it. We're not going to sit and wait for Golden State to get worse. Let's go at Golden State. For years now, it's like, oh, the Lakers. Denver's not waiting around. I like that they. Maybe they look back at Jeremy Grant differently now, but they went and got a backup center that they needed to give them size in JaVale McGee with Aaron Gordon. And they've got a wing defender and a guy who can hit some shots to go with Michael Porter Jr. and, of course, Jokic and Jamal Murray. That is a team going for it. Whether they will get there, we'll see. But that's a team that's gone all in and say, I want to win. We're going to compete this year. We're going to compete next year. I like that. I like that they've gone in like that.
I agree with you. I'm in the same direction. We're moving to Denver together. I think Denver is definitely the winner here because Jokic needed help, and that was evident. I mean, if you watched in the NBA this year, you know that the reason why he's an MVP candidate is because he literally had to do everything for that team, and he's done a phenomenal job. But I think it's clear that he needed some extra help, and I think what Aaron Gordon gives him is that little bit of extra help, and JaVale McGee as well. I love the move that Denver made. I also think exciting down the road, Chicago for sure. But it's too early to tell. Like I said, but at the end of the day, Kurt, when you have the Knicks as a playoff team, the Celtics, I know that they're kind of underperforming at the moment, but they're a very exciting franchise again. Then you have the Bulls that hopefully are going in the right direction, and the Lakers are the reigning NBA champions. This is good for the game of basketball.
Yeah, it is good.
Those are some of the four most important franchises in the game, and if they're good, then that's great for the exposure and for the game's health overall. So I'm thrilled. I hope Chicago can figure it out, because when Chicago Bulls are good, I mean, that's great for basketball.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, when the big franchises, the big names, when the Lakers and the Knicks and the Bulls and the Heat are good, it's like in college football. We want Notre Dame and Alabama. And maybe not. You probably don't want USC, but like but Notre Dame, did we mention them again? But when the big powerhouses are good, I think it's good for the sport. I think that's true in the NBA as well.
And the last little tidbit I want to throw in, Kurt, is I saw a crazy stat line. OKC now has 34 draft picks through the next 7 years. I think they are low key. I think the winners maybe of the past year or all sort of trade. I mean, that is unbelievable. 17 first rounders and 17 second rounders over the next 7 years.
They have stockpiled. They have hoarders. It's Sam Presti's on an episode of Hoarders with all his picks piled up. But you know what? Some of those they'll use. A lot of them they'll trade. It lets you take gambles on players, right? And say, well, if we miss, we've got all the, you're going to get a lot of bites at the apple. And I think ultimately that's what happened in Philadelphia. As much as the Sam Hinkie thing went weird, right? Would take a lot of bites at the apple. You end up with Joel Embiid. You end up with with Ben Simmons. You get some other young players. You take a lot of shots. Not everything pans out, but when enough do, suddenly you're going to be good. And last time Sam Presti went this route with a team, that's Seattle/Oklahoma City team turned out to be pretty good, man.
Yeah, I can think of a couple of guys who are memorable from that team. But that wraps it up for NBA trade deadline. We'll see what happens with the second half of the season.